What is going on, my beautiful people? In today's video, we're going to be putting out what is the best budget mineral that you can get at Walmart. Now, if I had to say, everybody has seen Deer Cane and they have seen Deer Cane Black Magic. Both of these are very common in Walmart, and it's really the only mineral that my local Walmarts will carry, and it's because they sell good. You know, most people know that Deer Cane works and most people buy it and use it. So we're going to go ahead and put out these Deer Canes. We got a big mineral site back behind us that we're going to put this stuff out at, and we got a little bit of attractant that we're going to throw in there as well, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Now, with those two minerals, we are also going to be throwing in some Apple Crush, which is by Wild Games Innovation, just to give it a little bit of a sweet smell. I know there's plenty of deer that come into this area, but we'll give them just a little bit more to smell and come on in. Let's go ahead and cut into this bad boy. Wow, it already smells super sweet. I forgot how sweet Deer Cane smells. Well, yeah, get a whiff. Get a whiff. It smells pretty sweet. And it looks just like table salt. All it looks like is table salt or maybe some sugar. It feels more like sugar than table salt. All right, now I know some people are already getting ready to comment that you need to mix this with water to create an effective mineral site. As you can see, there is plenty of water here in this mineral site where deer have been tearing it up. We get a lot of rains, it washes through here a lot, and this has just turned into one big mineral site over the years. So we're gonna go ahead and mix this stuff in there. Plenty over here. Now, I live in South Georgia, so that water is going to dry up real quick. All right, so next up we have the Deer Cane Black Magic. Let's take a look at the ingredients for it. Calcium, phosphorus, salt, sodium, fluorine. So again, a very salt-based mineral here that's going to bring them in, help them hold water. We're going to see if it smells any different. I know that this is enriched Black Magic, so I'm not exactly sure what is making it enriched. But let's see if it smells any different. It smells way sweeter. Definitely smells a lot sweeter. It smells like it's got a lot more of an attractant base to it. A little bit like sugar and maybe some pepper in there. A little bit of salt and pepper action. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to dump this bag in this area. We're going to do the same thing, just kind of sprinkle it around, try to get it everywhere. And as you can see, this is already soaking in quite a bit. We're going to go ahead and we will get on our muddy trail camera. We're going to get that turned on. Now, I don't have the cell service on this thing, so I really don't know why I have the antenna on it. But it's going to be doing the job of monitoring the area for us. And we're going to go create this secondary site. And we're going to use the Deer Cane and the Apple Crush for that. And we'll see which one brings in more deer. So this is going to be the location of our next mineral site. We already have some exposed dirt that I'm going to break up with a crowbar here in a minute. But there's a trail that runs right through here, and there's another trail that goes up the ridge on this side. You can probably see both of them pretty good. And then a little culvert right here where a little bit of runoff happens. Now, why I like this location is right on the other side of the brush over here is actually a food plot that is not on our property. It's owned by a hunting club. They always plant it, but they typically don't hunt it because I know the owners pretty well. But what'll happen is a bunch of bucks will cruise in this little bottom, checking that food plot on the right wind. And if we have a mineral site, we're bringing does in, hopefully bring bucks in. There's a lot of horn trees on this ridge. There is actually one, let's see, I don't have quite the zoom, but that tree right there actually has a rub on it. And then there's another one right here that has a rub on it as well. We're gonna take our little bit of crowbar here. We're gonna just help break up a little bit of this dirt, get some of these leaves out of here, and make sure we have a good surface area for this mineral to soak in. Next up, dump the Deer Cane. And then throw the Wild Games Innovation Apple Crush on top of it. And then you can go back over it with your rake or crowbar just to make sure that it's all mixed in together. And it's just that simple, folks. That's how you make a mineral site. So it definitely doesn't feel like it, but it has been over 2 weeks since I last put out mineral, and we're gonna take a look at these trail camera cards and hopefully we'll have some good results. So we're gonna do this live. I haven't looked at these yet, and y'all are gonna get my raw reaction. So let's see what's been coming into these mineral sites we set up the past couple weeks. Okay, so I have been trying to get this muddy card to work. It read pictures, but I cannot get any of them to display. I think maybe it was locked. I've tried it in both views to try and see. I don't know. It says that it has some stuff on it, but I can't get it to read, so I'm gonna have to play around with that. This is the one that was on the big mineral site that we made down there in the river bottom with the muddy trail camera that used to be a cell camera. I don't have the service on it anymore, so I don't know if maybe something's going on with that. I'm gonna have to figure that out. So unfortunately, we won't have photos for that as Banner's chilling in the background, but we do have some photos from down in the bottom. I went ahead and pulled up that SD card just to make sure that we had enough content to make a video, so we do. So right off the rip, you can see that I put this stuff out on the 15th. This is a mixture of Deer Cane Original as well as, I believe it was Apple Crush. It's been so long that I've honestly forgotten, but I would say based off of that red, it's Apple Crush. Same day, 3 hours later at 9:46, we had our first deer come in, and it looks like it is just a regular old doe. Yep, and she is hanging out. Oh, looks like her fawn came in with us here at picture 33. And this is one of those things where you just get a lot of photos of the same deer over and over and over again. I am 100 pictures in, and this is the only time since then that it hasn't been myself or the doe and her fawn. If you're using cell cameras, don't put them over mineral sites. That's just my biggest piece of advice, because you are gonna kill your batteries and you're gonna kill the amount of photos you can get unless you get unlimited photos of just doe after doe after doe. So that's one thing that I would highly recommend is, you know, just try to avoid that if you can. Looks like we got some raccoons coming through. I feel like that's going to be a trend down in here because it tends to hold a little more water than some of these other places, and it's closer to the creek, so raccoons tend to hang out in that kind of environment. All right, we got about 100 more photos of a different doe. I would assume this is a different doe because it doesn't have a fawn with it. In the time since July 15th, we have had 355 photos. Right now, it's all been does and raccoons. These deer use this area very heavily, and it is just a transition area. You know, there's a lot of photos of deer just walking by this area. A good example of that for me editing later is 426 through 430, where a doe doesn't even come into the mineral site. She literally just walks right by it, right past it, probably 10 yards at most from it, and just goes on up this ravine from the bottom where they're crossing. So that's really good for me to know going into hunting, and just a way that I'm using these trail cameras in this area, because this isn't an area I've been to a lot. When I hunt, I can set up on the ridge and hope that they cross right there in front of me. So in the first series of photos I just showed you, you saw that these deer are going left to right. They're going down one side of the ravine, back up the other side. Now, when I was setting this up, I knew it was a hub. I knew this was kind of a central point for these deer. They'll kind of walk up this little culvert you can see, and they'll walk up the edge of it to go over to a different area of the property versus just that left to right. They'll go kind of north to south as well, or south to north like it is in this case. In this series of photos, you can kind of see what the deer are doing when they're doing that. You can see that this set of does comes in. They kind of come in from the south and then walk straight north up the edge of this little culvert here, and they go around the culvert and then back up until they finally disappear. So that's really good information for me to use, because I would try to set up, you can see the base of a pine tree over here. You know, you can try to set up somewhere right in there where it's about a 25-yard shot with a bow to this mineral site, but they're also going to be walking a little bit closer. So that's really good to see. I'll be interested to see if some come back down the hill from that same path. Here's another pretty good series of photos that just show what those deer are doing when they're coming north to south. So again, it should help me to set up. Just seeing that these deer, how they're moving in this area, because this is a new area. Like I said, we scouted this, found that this was kind of a little bit of a hub for the deer to meet, and set up a mineral site right there in that hub, and a lot of does have been coming in, which is really good. It's summertime, and I don't know if you have the same amount of luck as I do during the summertime for photos of big bucks, mature bucks, but I don't have any luck. On this property, this is a smaller parcel, and the bucks don't really hang out on it during the summer. They tend to go more towards the ag fields that are around where there's soybeans, corn, stuff like that, whereas we don't really have any of that on our property. We have more of an acorn base and everything like that. All right, looks like we came across our first buck 747 photos in. And it doesn't really look like a shooter. It looks like he's 2, maybe 3. He's way too young. This photo would get a little bit closer. He's pretty young, but he's got good genes, it looks like. It looks like he's got potential to be a very, very good deer. Just gotta hope that he makes it through the season. And it looks like another little buck was with him. It north to south it, and it has some unique stuff going on here. I was trying to see if there was a better photo of him, but it doesn't look like we have one yet. All right, looks like 962. We have another little bachelor group coming through. And I say little bachelor group, not because of the amount of deer, but just the size of the deer. These deer are absolutely tiny. Yep, and then there's that other little like 2-year-old 8-pointer, 7-pointer in there. And this little guy's living his best life. He's trying to make a little scrape here, as you can see in this photo. He's just doing it all. But yeah, you can see here in 998 that deer, how I was talking about his antler was kind of crooked. You can see that it literally makes like an S. We'll call this deer Swirl. We'll name him because he's got a unique enough antler that we should be able to see that and, you know, kind of watch him grow throughout the seasons. But that's a pretty unique little situation he's got going on. It's so crazy that his buddy wanted to come check in on him and be like, bro, your antlers do not look like mine. What's going on, bud? Basically, the other 150 that I looked at were all does. They're fawns. The same like 3 or 4 does that we've been seeing, and a couple different raccoons sprinkled in. Didn't have any more bucks. But we really didn't start seeing those bucks. I want to go back and look at the dates. I know one set was in August. And like I was saying, we don't have a whole lot of luck pre like August, September as far as bucks. Yeah, this one was July 29th that we first started getting our photos of bucks at all. So all summer we really haven't been getting any bucks. As you can see, as far as this video, Deer Cane and Primos stuff, any of the stuff that you're going to find at Walmart and these big box stores is going to bring in deer. You can see the results, and I think that they speak for themselves. This was put out on August 15th. I pulled that trail camera, or I'm sorry, it was set out on July 15th. I pulled the trail camera on August the 9th, and it had 1,200 photos, pretty much. I'm rounding a little bit. It was like 1,190 something. But it had 1,200 photos, and all of them had pictures. We didn't really, or all of them had animals in them. We did not have any still shots or anything like that. So lots and lots of deer activity in this area. Great place to bow hunt if you're looking to kill a doe. And if you want to see some bucks, it might be a little bit better come, you know, rut season. We don't have any big bucks in that area. No one frequenting that I want to shoot. So at this point, I can leave the mineral site, move the camera, and try to find another deer somewhere else. Or I can just continue to watch it to see what's kind of transitioning through that area, which is more than likely what I'm going to do. All right, so for today's verse of the week, I did this a little bit differently. I prayed that the Holy Spirit kind of give me something to read that somebody out there needed that's watching this video. So if you're watching this video and you've made it this far, this may just be for you, because that's what I asked for. Usually I'll pull these beforehand. Didn't do that today. What we are going to be looking at is Hebrews 2, and it's just right there at the start of 2. That's what I feel like the Lord's trying to tell me. Because on this page, it is an introduction into Hebrews, and this is where Hebrews starts. And Hebrews 2 is what my eyes gravitated towards. After praying, I opened my Bible with my eyes closed, and this is where we landed. So, divine intervention at its finest. But this says it's a warning to pay attention. We must pay the most careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard, so that we do not drift away. For since the message spoken through angels was binding, and every violation and disobedience received is just punishment,
How shall we escape if we ignore so great a salvation? This salvation, which was first announced by the Lord, was confirmed to us by those who heard him. God also testified to it by signs, wonders, and various miracles, and by gifts of the Holy Spirit distributed according to his will. That's powerful stuff. So maybe you've heard the stories of Jesus, maybe you've heard what he's done and what he can do for your life, and you don't believe it. All of that is evidence. This book is evidence. I mean, just think about the fact that how many people hate Jesus, maybe yourself included. How many people hated Jesus? How many people wanted Jesus and all the people that followed him to die? I mean, read through the Old Testament, read through the New Testament, and you can see how hated Christians are. Even in today's world, how hated Christians are, yet this book is still the #1 sold book. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, does it? Think about all the people that would want this book to be burned or not be able to be distributed, and yet it still is. So think about that. I think that's a miracle in itself. Did you see that? It like caught the sun and was shining. Look at that. Boom. Look at that light flare. Look at this book. The book is literally shining, y'all. Pay attention to this book. Pay attention to what God is trying to teach you. If you stayed and you stuck around for this 2 minutes of sharing the gospel, I highly consider you do some of your own research if you're not a believer. And if you are a believer, I love you. Thank you for being my brother. Spread the word with somebody that you don't know, and let's try to kind of catch some more fish, if you know what I'm saying. I love every single one of you. What would Jesus do? I love every single one of you. Thanks for watching, and always remember, when nature calls or God calls, you better answer. Peace.